Hello everyone and welcome to Canadian Critics, where we check out the latest and greatest in Canadian literature. I'm your host, Carolyn Dorothy. Today we're going to be looking at Transplanted, a story by Alison Watson about her double lung transplant. So transplant takes part in kind of two halves. The first half is the pre-transplant, where Alison is growing up. She knows that she has cystic fibrosis and that it is a fatal illness, but she lives her life pretty normally up into the part where she gets more and more sick in her early 20s. She has a pretty normal upbringing, and her family seem really supportive and take her out to do hikes and cycling. She cycles with her brother across Canada, all normal stuff that active people would do. But always in the back of her mind, she talks about knowing that her health will start to decline and that she does have this clock that's running out because there is such a young turning point for when her disease will progress into being really, really deadly. So she talks about waiting in Nova Scotia in order to be sick enough to be able to be transferred to the transplant clinic that's in Toronto, Ontario. So there's actually not any transplant centers in Atlantic Canada, which I thought was interesting in that she has to be transplanted from her home to another province in order to receive care and to receive that other transplant that will save her life. So she's waiting in Toronto for about a year when suddenly her health declines even further. And when she's hospitalized in Toronto, that starts the process of really it being the crunch time to find her a pair of lungs, or the alternative that they don't find her a pair of lungs and worst case scenario happens and she has to face the possibility that she could die. So incredibly, they do find her a pair of lungs in an odd way, sort of like an Ouroboros. She has to wait for somebody else to die before she can have a chance at living. And she talks about this in the book in a way that could really understand just how awkward and strange that would be. When, you know, she talks about at Christmas, the nurses saying, "Oh, I hope that you get a new pair of lungs for Christmas," as like a Christmas miracle. And she's thinking, well, if I was wishing for that, then I'm also wishing for somebody else to die in order for them to give me their lungs. So it's kind of a catch-22 where you're hoping for that to happen, but you're not hoping for that to happen, because it seems sort of like a bad thing to wish for, but at the same time, you're desperately hoping for a chance to live yourself. And I feel like she confronts the idea of her own death in a very matter-of-fact way that I appreciated. She never shies away from giving you the honest details, not only of really painful medical procedures, to post-transplant, being in the hospital, not even being able to get up to go to the bathroom because her body was so weak, and just the feeling of anxiety and the panic attacks that she experiences because her body is suddenly outside of her control. Although she's still cognizant of what's going on around her, her body is literally so weakened by the procedure and so traumatized by the surgery that she really can only just lay in bed for weeks at a time and rely solely on nurses and doctors to keep her body living and to keep her healing. So Transplanted is really a story about going to the brink of medical technology and the brink of what your body can endure, and going beyond that point, and the hard journey back to physical and mental health, and how much resilience that takes and how much support that takes. I found that Alison was really able to capture that time period, which really spanned 2 years of her life. And she was only in her mid-20s, I think 27 when she went to Toronto, and then 29 by the time that she was recovered. And also her recovery was complicated by cancer that she got afterwards that was a result of the transplant. So it is kind of an ongoing thing. When the story ends, it doesn't necessarily end with her being totally recovered, but her having learned how to deal with her illness and to find joy and happiness anyway. So I think it's a really profound story and worth checking out. I'll leave a link to where you can find this book to buy. It's published by Nimbus here in Nova Scotia. So I also have a longer reflection that I've posted to my blog. You can find the link down below if you're interested in reading the long form of this review. As well, you can follow along on Instagram. We're at Can Critics on Instagram, as well as on Facebook.com/Can Critics. Next up, I think we'll be doing Tanya Tagaq's novel Split Tooth, so look for that in the coming weeks. Otherwise, enjoy your summer and happy reading.